Thank you, President Trump. After saying today that the war with Iran may end soon and the market closed sharply higher, what do you think about that? In addition, a judge has ordered you to stop the construction of the ballroom. Are you going to stop?
Well, we're going to appeal that decision. But it's not, I don't know, it's basically, I wrote part of his opinion. But basically, he's saying, I need Congress's approval. And he's completely wrong. This is being privately funded. It's a donation made by companies, very wealthy companies, very wealthy people, because for 150 years they've wanted a ballroom here. We're going to have the best ballroom, I believe, anywhere in the world. And he said we need approval from Congress, but they don't ask for approval to act, especially when we don't use any money. And this doesn't involve taxpayer money. No public money, not a single cent invested. And he said, we need approval from Congress. Well, we've built a lot of things at the White House over all these years. They don't consult Congress for construction at the White House. It's completely separate. And especially when it's a donation. The ballroom is a donation. It got great reviews. Presidents have wanted that ballroom for 150 years. Because when we receive leaders like President Xi or other prime ministers, we don't have a big room. We have the East Room, which is very small. And he said, we need approval from Congress. He also stated the following, however, this is something positive for us. I'm allowed to do it. That is, we can continue building as necessary. Stop, let's see, what is this? To ensure complete safety and protection of the White House and all the surrounding areas. It's written here with great care and attention. The security and protection of the White House grounds need to be ensured. Well, that's what we're doing because everything is glass, there's bulletproofing, etc., including the ballroom. And then comes the construction and all the necessary things. It says that the personal security of the president and his team is part of this. Then it says that we have permission to continue building. In other words, he issued an order and still gave 14 days. We don't need that because that's exactly what we're doing. He has permission to continue building as needed. And when it comes to the safety and security of the White House and its grounds. Just so you know, I wrote down a few things. We have a drone-proof roof, and it talks about the president and his team. Well, we don't have much bulletproof glass. The White House was built a long time ago. This has the highest level of, actually they call this chart this grama ou vidro. You have, it's bulletproof and ballistic resistant. It's very thick. That's how it is. And it's going to be 13 meters tall. And every window is covered. Every door is covered. The roof is drone-proof. We have secure air treatment systems. You know, bad things happen in the air if there are bad people. We have biodefense everywhere. We have telecommunications and secure communication systems everywhere. We have air raid shelters that we are building. We have a hospital and large medical facilities that we are building. We have all these things. So that means I can keep building as needed. Think about it for the president's safety. So we have all these things. So as for that, we're good. Where he's completely wrong and made a statement that's okay, but where, let me give you an example. You have right here $300 to $400 million depending on the finishes. Using marble or high-cost wall coverings, I could reach 400. Otherwise, we're already ahead of schedule. We're under budget, but it depends on the finishes. Finishes worth $300 to $400 million are being donated by great people. People you all know. Which people? Which companies? Big companies. They wanted to see this built because every president over the past 150 years has needed a space like this. Many of you have already been to the tent when we have a president from a major country or someone being honored. And if it rains, you get soaked because the grass gets wet very quickly. It's a very, very damp area. They used to call it a swamp, and it's basically a swamp. When it rains, you're in trouble. The water rises 3 to 4 inches above your shoes. It's not a good feeling for Prince Charles, who will be here in the next few weeks. It's King Charles, who is a fantastic guy. We don't want him sitting in a puddle of water. And they've wanted this for think about it, 150 years, and it's here. We're building it, and it's perfectly covered. The unresolved point is that the judge said we need congressional approval. A lot has been done at the White House without Congress, especially without public money. The taxpayer won't spend a cent. This building has been needed for many years. I've built several halls, and I know very well how to build. It's not like the Federal Reserve that spends $4 billion on a small project, a $4 billion building for the Federal Reserve. That contractor is going to be one of the richest men in the world after he finishes the Federal Reserve building. The man is incompetent. Jerome, the slow Powell, is totally incompetent. And he needs to leave office really quickly. He's doing a terrible job and did badly supervising this project. Did you know that? They demolished part of that building that they say is one of the most beautiful in Washington. They tore it down. Actually, we know that congressional approval isn't necessary to build a ballroom. A lot of things have already been built there without ever having congressional approval, especially when all the money has already been invested. These are donations from people who love our country and the White House and felt that this was really necessary. Sir.
President, a question about Iraq, which affects Americans in the country. Gas prices. Today, they've reached $4.
It's $4 in a country that won't launch a nuclear weapon in 6 months.
Meanwhile, Americans are feeling an impact.
They feel much safer.
How to bring them back to reality.
All I have to do is leave Iran, which we'll do soon, and then they'll plummet. And the stocks went up today, almost reaching a record high. Because they know two things. First, we have a safe country. We had to make a little detour, because there was a madman named Khomeini, who unfortunately is no longer with us. And we've already had a regime change. We overthrew one regime and then overthrew the second. Now we have a very different group of people. They are much more reasonable, I think, much less radicalized. There was a regime change. We are dealing with much more rational people. What we did is incredible. We had to make a small detour when the market hit record highs weeks ago, reaching 50,000 on the Dow and 7,000 on the S&P. I told the people, it's time for a detour because we have a madman wanting a nuclear weapon. If we hadn't taken him out with the B-2, we would have a nuclear weapon now. It would have already been used before today. And maybe you wouldn't even be there asking that question, right? The country understands that. I saw that CNN did a poll about MAGA voters, and my poll showed 100% nobody covers that poll. They had another poll with 92% approval, and I think people understand that. We will be out very soon. And if France or some other country is interested in oil or gas, it's if you go up through the strait and the Strait of Hormuz. They go there and will be able to defend themselves. I actually think it will be very safe. But we have nothing to do with that. Whatever happens with the strait, we will have nothing to do with it. Because those countries, China goes there. They refuel their beautiful ships. And they leave. And they will take care of themselves. There's no reason for us to do that. We hit them hard. We eliminated many of the radicalized lunatics along the strait. But if they want something, but I would say that within maybe 2 or 3 weeks, we're hitting them hard. Last night we destroyed several missile factories, as you must have read. I apologize. The theory will be one. Totally burned. I think 2 or 3
weeks.
Let's go. There's no reason to do this. The problem with this place is that a guy can grab a mine, throw it in the water, and say, it's not safe. It's not like eliminate an army or a country. They can launch it, or you could use machine guns from the coast against a ship. Ou talvez míssil portátil. It's Ethan Knowles. This isn't for us, it'll be for France and for whoever uses that trade. But I think that when we leave, everything will probably be settled. Today I heard that many ships were passing through there. We're negotiating with them now. They've returned. Now we've had a regime change. Regime change wasn't one of my goals. I had one goal. They will not have a nuclear weapon, and that goal has been achieved. They will not have nuclear weapons. But we're finishing the job, and I think maybe in 2 weeks, maybe a few days more to complete the job. But we want to eliminate absolutely everything they have now. It's possible that we make a deal before that. This will hit bridges, and we've already hit some. We're going to hit some bridges. We have a few in mind. If they join the discussion, that'll be good. But it doesn't matter if they come or not. We've delayed them. It will take them 15 to 20 years to recognize it and rebuild after what we've done to them. They don't have a navy. They don't have armed forces. They don't have an air force. They don't have telecommunications. They don't have anti-aircraft systems. They don't have leaders. Their leaders are gone. We changed the regime. We have new leaders.
Thank you, Trump. They say the ballroom needs a drone-proof roof.
Drone-proof, right?
Lately, swarms of drones have been flying over sensitive military bases in the U.S. According to reports, they're not commercial and can't be jammed. Could it be the armed forces of another country?
I don't think so. We have a great system. Have you noticed that in the last 4 or 5 days you haven't seen many drone attacks? We have some truly unbelievable anti-drone weaponry. But you want to have, for example, the ballroom. We have a very strong steel roof. It's really made of steel with other elements in it. And you need to have, if you're building a building for security, just as the judge thinks, you need to ensure the safety of the president and the team. They have that. You need heavy and strong roofs on buildings. You need really thick bulletproof ballistic glass. And we have that. Other buildings don't have it, the modern ones. Relatively modern buildings don't have that. They have fragile roofs and regular glass windows.
But there was this incident over in Barksdale where apparently an entire swarm of drones hovered over the runway for a few hours. There are a lot of really important planes there. How worried are you that this is just some other country probing? I am.
I know about that. They investigated it and got to the bottom of it. You have a lot of people. Now, the flyovers happen everywhere, and we're being very tough on them, but we've already managed to eliminate them. Militarily, we eliminated them easily. The new thing is lasers. Lasers are becoming very, very effective. You hit a drone and it melts in the air. It's a beautiful thing to see. If it's coming your way, having a laser is a very good thing. But we do have methods of defense against drones. The advantage from a defense standpoint is that they're not very fast compared to the F-22, that plane over there. They're slow and can be shot down by high-quality aircraft that we have in greater numbers than any other country.
And what does that mean? There was a viral video this week, I don't know if you saw it, helicopters at Kid Rock's house in Nashville. Did you see that?
I didn't see it, but I'm sure they had fun.
The Army has already announced that the crews have been suspended. What do you think?
It depends. They probably shouldn't have done that. Yeah, you guys shouldn't play here. I'd take a look at that. They like Kid Rock. I like Kid Rock. Maybe they'd try to defend him. I don't know.
Does Iran really need to make a deal with Zua to end its operation?
No.
Iran doesn't need to make a deal?
Iran doesn't need to make a deal? No. Yes, I talked to many people. It's a new regime. They are much more approachable. They're right. They said, "We have a gift for you, Mr. President," out of respect.
They said,
"Wait a minute. You want me to answer a question? You're a bold person, you know that? We've had a lot of trouble with you, haven't we?" "No, they don't. You asked me a question. No, they don't need to make a deal with me." When we feel that they, for a long period of time, have been taken back to the Stone Age, that they won't be able to develop a nuclear weapon, then we'll leave. Whether there's a deal or not is irrelevant now. It's possible that we'll have a deal because they want the deal. They want to close the deal more than I do, but soon we'll be done. They won't be able to make a nuclear weapon for years, and when a long time from now, they finally manage to make a nuclear weapon, you will have a president who will be like me, and he will go there and take them out again because they can't have a nuclear weapon. They are very radicalized people. They have very sick leadership. And I will say, however, that the leadership, who are we dealing with now? The new regime, because we have a new regime, and the new regime is much better than the previous one.
Mr. President, the Iranian government threatens several American companies today, Google and Apple. With what?
With what? How did they threaten these companies? Well,
this is a
good question.
My question for you is, are the U.S. talking to them?
What did they threaten these companies with? I really don't know. How did they threaten them?
I know they threatened them.
What does it mean?
Is that enough? They said disgusting the government is in contact with these companies. You are helping to support them.
I don't even know what the threat was. What was it? I didn't see anything. Are they planning to blow them up or attack? That's wrong. You know what they won't do? They won't attack them with a nuclear weapon. Yeah.
Is that something that worries you, sir? No.
The Iranian Revolutionary Guard threatens to attack 18 U.S. companies following the targeted killings of Iranian leaders since April 1st. NVIDIA, Apple, and Microsoft.
Some of those people have already died. Yes, Peter.
I have one. Your son. Eric posted a picture of the future Trump Presidential Library, a huge skyscraper. Is all that a library? What else will be there?
It's a library and a museum, but I wouldn't start until I'm out of office. I don't believe in building libraries or museums. It's really like Barack Hussein Obama's in Chicago. It's not in a good location, and it's an unattractive building, delayed and over budget. I think you'll see something great here, delivered on time and on budget. Best location in Miami. They say it's the best block in Miami. And the state council?
People will live on the floors.
No, it will probably be a hotel. You know, this concept could be for offices, but it will probably be a hotel with a beautiful building underneath. And a Boeing 747 Air Force One in the lobby, which is going to be a challenge.
Tomorrow the Supreme Court will hear arguments about his executive order trying to end the right to birthright citizenship.
And I will.
You're going to the Supreme Court tomorrow, you just sit and listen?
Because I've been hearing this argument for so long, and this has nothing to do with Chinese billionaires or billionaires from other countries, who suddenly have 75 children, or 59 children in one case, or 10 children becoming American citizens. This was about slaves, and if you look slaves, we're talking about Civil War slaves. And if you look at when this was introduced, all this legislation, everything related to birthright citizenship, it was at the end of the Civil War. The reason was that it had to do with the babies of slaves, the protection of slave babies. It had nothing to do with protecting multimillionaires and billionaires wanting their children to get American citizenship. It's the most absurd thing I've ever seen. This has been handled so poorly by people in the legal field over the years. If you look at the original documents about birthright citizenship, they all date from right after the Civil War. The reason was that it had to do with the babies of slaves. And I hope this shows how our country is being deceived. We are taking in all these people. They are selling the rights to them. People are making a living, making a lot of money, receiving hundreds of thousands and even millions of dollars for bringing people and saying, "Congratulations, your whole family will be citizens of the United States of America." That wasn't what it was for. It wasn't for billionaires to bring people or family members here. It was for the children of slaves. And what do you really need to do? And I think lawyers don't talk about this very much. It's to look at when the Civil War ended and look at the date when this was enacted, okay? It's already been to the Supreme Court. Is this the first time the case is going to court? No, I've already been. The opening of the Supreme Federal Court in the last administration. And which justices are you going to pay more attention to? I like some of them. I don't like some of the others. And you know, say what you want, but you have those who were appointed by Barack Hussein, Obama, and Biden. No matter how good your case is, even if it's the best, they're going to rule against you. They always do that, and it wasn't supposed to be like this. Now, Republicans tend to be very different. They want to show how honorable they are. A man appoints them and they rule against him. We're proud to rule against Trump. We're above that. There are those who say that's wonderful, and there are those who say they're so stupid. But the Democrats never fail at one thing. When Barack Hussein Obama or when Biden appoints someone, they follow that line. You could have the best case in history. And almost, I think I have to say almost, maybe I don't even need to say almost. Without exception, those people, 4 of them, sometimes 5, but usually 4, will vote against you. You have no chance of winning, you have no chance. And that's not what the judicial system is for. Republican appointees act like that. This has been happening for many years, long before my time. Some would call it stupidity or disloyalty. Others would say they're right. I don't care about being right, but the other side rarely does that, almost never. I think you might find maybe one or two cases, but they almost never do that. When a Democrat appoints a judge, and I'm talking about judges, not just Supreme Court justices, if you end up in front of some of those Democrat judges in Washington, D.C., you don't stand a chance. That's why I granted pardons only to people who were so mistreated in relation to J6. I am present. Do you have a question? Come on, I hadn't seen you there. You're so kind. Here we go. Now she's going to hit me with a tough one. They are united. I think maybe you would have Fetterman, whom I have a lot of respect for, but the Democrats are united against it, and you need their votes unless you do something smart, like ending the so-called filibuster. That's what the Republicans should be doing, but there are some Republicans who might not be that smart because the Democrats are going to do it. On the first day, maybe in the first hour. Will it happen in the first hour or on the first day? Who can believe that a person, you can't even bring this to the floor so that someone can vote for it. Think about it. Proof of citizenship for voter identification purposes. And we also added one more thing. We added the option for mail-in voting. With exceptions for military personnel, sick people, people who are traveling, and people with disabilities, we have pretty generous exceptions, but who would believe it would be possible to get votes for these things? And then we added the best of Trump. We didn't include men's and women's sports, which is a different issue, but we included this. And we said, nothing transgender related, no gender mutilation of our children. All of this has support from 95, maybe 98 in some cases, maybe 99%. If you consider the first 2 points, I think it's 98, 99%. Voter identification, right? Don't you think it's good to have a photo? Don't you think it's good that the Democrats held their convention? And I remember that too. You needed identification to enter the arena, and they had a card that was bigger than most of their chests. And it had everything. It had their picture. And if you didn't have that card, they'd send you away. Recently in New York City, we had a big snowstorm, and Mayor Mandamy asked people to clear the snow. But you needed to show photo ID, and if you didn't have it, and it wasn't just one ID, you needed to have 2 to clear the snow. In NNI, you need 2 forms of photo ID, but to vote, which is the most important thing, you don't need it. Democrats don't want ID because they want to cheat. The problem is that we need their votes. To get this done, you need their votes. Look, they know their policies are terrible. They know that if they give those votes, they might never win an election again. What are they fighting for? They're actually fighting for their own survival because of their policies. The Republicans have great policies, smart policies, strong borders, low interest rates, and low taxes. We gave you the biggest tax cut in history. We want a strong army, and today we have the most powerful armed forces. Look at what happened in Venezuela. It was something incredible. People said it was the greatest military maneuver they've ever seen. Look at what's happening in Iran. We are totally unrestricted. Everything is destroyed by bombings. They have no anti-aircraft protection. They have nothing. They don't have anything bad. Look at our armed forces. The Democrats don't want that. And when I read the New York Times, they say they fight well. They're not fighting or even shooting. For us, everything is fine. We have planes. Planes are simply dominating the sky. We have planes. Those two, we have cool planes. Lincoln with a modern touch, the great Benjamin Franklin with a modern touch. But think about it. They're flying in the skies over Tehran. They're not even being attacked because their equipment was completely destroyed. They have nothing to shoot with. We do. They don't have a navy. They have nothing. And just think about it. They don't have a navy. They don't have armed forces. They have nothing. They're losing. They admit defeat and beg to make a deal. And if you read the fake New York Times, a corrupt newspaper that I'm suing and I think I'm going to do very well, but you'd almost think the one who's winning is so fraudulent. But just to finish with the New York Times, if you read the New York Times before my election victory, especially the first election and the second too, I won 3 times. I won 3 times convincingly, but let's go to the third victory. If you read the New York Times, you'd say, Trump is going to lose. But I won by a landslide. I won the popular vote. I won in the electoral college by a huge margin, right? Huge, I won. In the counties, 86% of the counties were won. All these things. Winning the popular vote for a Republican is, something incredible. But if you read the New York Times for months and months on end, you'd hear things like, Trump is doing so badly. We need to fix our media. The reason why their circulation is so low, the circulation of the New York Times, as you know, has dropped a lot. The Washington Post is almost extinct. Or newspapers that are being dishonest. Newspapers in general. People don't trust the media. And to finish, I received 93% negative publicity, some say 97, but it's between those numbers, with 97% negative coverage. Maybe Caroline is doing a bad job. I don't know. She's my representative. Her work is terrible. We keep her. I think so. I get from 93 to 97% bad press, all false. I won by a landslide when you get from 93 to 97% negative stories and criticism, and you still win. Do you know what that means? People don't believe the press, and when they don't believe it, it's terrible for the country. Looking at the New York Times or the Washington Post, they're so fake, and the Wall Street Journal too, only bad stories. I don't know what happened, but they're bad. Their circulation has dropped a lot. Wall Street Journal, I don't know if you saw yesterday's numbers, the New York Times dropped a lot, the Wall Street Journal and the Washington Post also dropped. Because people don't believe in them anymore. And it's not even about the newspaper itself. It's not about B. It's that they don't have credibility anymore, which is something very sad for our country. Thank you, everyone. Are you considering running for office, Mr. President?